In this video, I'm answering your questions about Amazon Prime Video Direct. This first question is actually two questions, but they're similar enough to where I felt like I could answer them at the same time. Can anyone confirm that Amazon is not accepting documentaries for Prime Video Direct? I know the policy was announced a couple of years ago, but the list of categories on their support page currently specifically lists only short films as not accepted. I recently helped a client get their film on Amazon Prime Video Direct, and it was a documentary. I'm going to assume all the things that I've talked about in the past where it says that Amazon doesn't take documentary films anymore was more specifically geared towards those trying to get on the subscription side of Amazon. With how things are now, you're not really in the Prime funnel, if that makes sense. It's a little confusing because you're on Amazon, but you're technically not. You're more or less a seller in their marketplace. I'm not guaranteeing that this will work, but like I said, I did upload a documentary, so I don't think you're going to have any problems. And then somebody also asked, is there a way to upload a show? So this ties into the type of content that you're going to be able to upload to Amazon. At the time of this recording, Amazon says you can upload feature-length movies 40 minutes or longer, TV shows 20 minutes or longer, concerts and performances, educational content, interviews, and sporting events. So do what you will with that information, but you should be able to upload a show as long as it's over 20 minutes, like they said. Where do I start? Do I have to become an Amazon seller, which costs a fee per month plus selling fees? So to sign up, you're going to want to do this at videodirect.amazon.com. This is not necessarily the same as selling on Amazon, even though I just got done telling you that you're going to be on Amazon's marketplace. But this comment sounds like they're trying to set up an e-commerce store, which isn't quite the same here. Prime Video Direct is specifically geared towards content. Whereas if you're creating an Amazon seller account, you're trying to sell a physical product typically. I'm on there and I've been there for almost 5 years now, and it didn't cost me anything to get it set up. And just as a reminder, Amazon does take a 50% commission for any sales that you make on their platform. So you don't pay any fees up front, but they will take out that 50% in the back end. And there's not something you're going to have to pay later, like an invoice or something like that to Amazon. They just give you the net profit of the sales you make. And actually, here's another second part of this question that somebody else asked me that's kind of related. They said, I would like to know how long Amazon kept your film, and do they pay for how long people are watching the movie? For example, 30 minutes for $1, rent or buy. So Amazon says in their terms of service that they're not going to keep your film forever if they don't want to. They can essentially do whatever they want with it. I haven't had my film taken down personally, and it's been up for a little over 4 years now, and I haven't had any issues with that. Now, they did take me off the Prime subscription, but like I said, I'm still up on the marketplace. The agreement that you come to with Amazon is that it's a non-exclusive agreement, which means that you're able to take the film on and off the platform whenever you'd like, so long as they accept, of course. And say you're on Amazon and you want to go to a different place like YouTube, for an example, you're able to distribute to any other platforms without causing any sort of disruptions or anything like that. And as I was talking about earlier, Amazon does take a 50% commission as far as how they work out the sales back and forth between you and them. So for an example, if you sell your film on Amazon for $10, you would make $5, and then Amazon is going to get the other $5. And then it works the same way with rentals, whereas if you rented your film for $4, you would keep $2 of that. Unfortunately, how long people watch your film no longer matters, or it honestly didn't even really matter back in the day when you were on the subscription part. They don't pay CPMs or RPMs or anything like that. It's just that straight 50% commission off any buy or rentals. How long does it take for a submitted file to get approved? Honestly, this can take several weeks or even months. In my experience, Amazon hasn't taken more than a few weeks, but that's not to say they're going to take any shorter or longer with you. There's really no guarantee on when you're going to get on the platform, so you're going to want to factor that in with your release strategy. I recently helped a couple of people upload their films to Amazon. One of them took about 2 weeks and the other one took about 12 weeks. And I submitted those at the same time too. It's really going to depend on the influx of submissions that they get, if you submitted your film correctly, and other miscellaneous factors on Amazon's side that aren't publicly known. How did you have the tax info to provide for the UK? You will need to do a tax interview for the UK, which is in the tax information tab in your account settings. I'm not registered to collect VAT tax, so I can't specifically comment there on the process. If anyone has any better information than I do, feel free to put it in the comments section. But for me personally, I just set up everything with my American account. And then for the UK account, I just had to select some other type of entity. I'll go ahead and throw that up on the screen here in a second so that way you can see. But I didn't register because I'm not registered in the UK, like my business isn't. This isn't a question, it was more of a comment that I also wanted to comment on as well. But they say Amazon Prime isn't taking any movies without going through their partners. Only TVOD is accepted, which is correct. As I said previously, Amazon only allows you to sell your digital movies through their marketplace right now, meaning you can only set up your films to be purchased or for rental. Years back, they allowed your films to be part of the Amazon subscription service, but I want to say it's been about 2 years now. They took that away, which kind of sucked just because my film did fairly well there. Amazon now has a service called Freevee, which is kind of like their version of Tubi. You can use a service like FilmHub to distribute your film to Amazon, and then that will increase your chances on getting on a platform like Freevee. In my opinion, AVOD platforms are kind of the future for independent filmmakers like myself, or I should say no budget filmmakers, especially just because you're able to get on these kinds of platforms and actually make money with them. Tubi has been my biggest generator thus far for sure, and I'm sure Freevee would too if I could ever get on the platform. I have a horror film made with HD. Will they take it? At the time of this recording, Amazon only accepts films with a max resolution of 1920 by 1080 HD. So to answer your question specifically, yes, you can upload your horror movie, although that's not specific to horror movies. As long as it's feature length, you should be good to go. And as a reminder, they currently don't accept short films. This person is asking why Amazon doesn't accept their films made in India. I can't comment specifically on how Prime Video Direct works in India, if it does at all. However, in the United States, you can only upload to the US, UK, Japan, and Germany. You have to use an aggregator or a traditional distributor to get into any other territories besides those 4. I'm going to assume because India is not a territory that's automatically on there, that's probably the route that you're going to have to take. So what does that mean? You're going to have to use something like FilmHub or Quiver, or going through a traditional distributor, or using kind of the hybrid model of somebody like Indie Rights, who's kind of like FilmHub, but they're also a traditional distributor. Those are going to be your best options. And that doesn't only apply to India, that applies to pretty much any other territory that was not mentioned before. I submitted a documentary and I got an email back from Amazon saying they're having trouble establishing ownership of the video. They asked for an independent third-party website listing my name and the film. I haven't publicized it yet because it's not on a streaming platform. So I uploaded my copyright registration, but I haven't heard back from them. Any tips on how to confirm ownership of the film? I actually recently had this happen with one of my clients, whereas back when this person asked me this question, I had no idea what they were talking about. Amazon appears to have cracked down on a lot of content that they don't necessarily deem worthy to be on their platform. I received an email from them on how to counter this ownership problem. I think one of the easiest methods to take care of this is to make sure that you have been accepted into some sort of film festival and they have publicly announce that on their website. That's not saying you need to get into Sundance or something like that. I assume if you're making no budget or low budget films that you've already factored in trying to do something with film festivals as part of your release strategy. If you haven't, you may want to consider submitting to a few of them. I have a love-hate relationships with film festivals in general, but it does add some credibility to you. The other method would be having some legitimate publication write about your film. I'm going to assume that means some sort of interview or a review. Now, if you do some Googling around, you're going to be able to find some places that will review your film, either for free or for some small fee. A great one that I use personally was Film Threat. They are a Rotten Tomatoes approved reviewer, and they also take submissions for reviews. That's not to say that they guarantee it, but they do openly take submissions. They have a few different packages that I'm going to pop up on screen here. I personally used the free one, and they did review my film, so that worked out. But if you do have a little bit of cash and you want to speed this up, they do take that. And Film Threat is not the only one. I was looking for my film back in 2019, so I assume within the last 5 years or so, more people have opened up to reviewing films like this. So do some research and see what best options you have. I've uploaded my film to Amazon Prime, but it rejects the subtitle. It gives me this error: the time codes in a caption file must appear in a sequential order. I've already tried to adjust the times and synchronize more in detail the text with the audio, including references of sounds and background music. What else can I do that I'm not adjusting well? If you're having trouble with the caption timing, I would import your finished film and captions into an editor, like Adobe Premiere Pro. Make sure all of your captions are lined up and nothing really seems off and all that. And then I would do a specific export from whatever editor that you're using. Make sure it's the highest quality file possible, but you should be able to export the .srt captions as well with your film. That way, you know that your film and your captions are going to line up exactly as they're supposed to because they are essentially in the same rendered file. In some of my previous tutorials, I did say that you could probably get away with doing the captions yourself. I don't know if this was the case for this person who commented this specifically, but I just wanted to say now that I no longer recommend it just because I've had a lot of people come to me and they said they've had a lot of problems with spelling or captions not lining up correctly or this and that. So at this point, I'm only recommending that you get these professionally done. It's not very expensive to do this. It's only going to cost you a couple $100 and it's very worth doing just because it's going to get you on these platforms and it's going to save you a lot of headache. I personally like Rev.com, but there are a ton of other good options as well. If you have lower resolution footage in a certain scene within your film, will this be an issue with Amazon? I have certain scenes which flash back to the 1990s camcorder sequences. However, 90% of the film is shot in 4K. Yes, having a few lower resolution scenes shouldn't make a big difference. The thing that will make a big difference is that you export your film correctly so that way it's all within their deliverable standards for uploading to the platform. At the time of this recording, that's a 1920 by 1080 HD H.264 or Apple ProRes codec file. There may be changes needed in my artwork. Will this take it off air? And will Amazon take a dim view of changing the artwork? I'm hesitant to press publish changes button. You should be able to make any changes to your film at any time after it's already published. That's not to say if you did something incorrectly that they're going to give you an error, but let's just pretend that's not an issue. You've done everything right and you just want to do something is simply changing your poster art. I did this recently with one of my clients' films and it wasn't a problem. It wasn't something that changed immediately, but they didn't take the film down once we hit submit. Here's another two-part question. Does Amazon check for music licensing? At the time of this recording, I don't think Amazon, to my knowledge, checks for any music licensing or just any licensing or legality nuances in general. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't have all your ducks in a row. I really recommend you try to get as much of this paperwork as possible just in case anything bad comes up, but I've been on the platform for over 4 years now, and they've not once asked or had me upload in the beginning any sort of licenses or anything like that. And the second part of this from another person is how strict is the Amazon QC on the copyright side of things? For example, if I had a licensed/established clothing brand in my film in which I'm showing imagery of said clothing brand, will this be an issue within the QC? In terms of B-roll sourced from an archive, would I have to show proof of ownership or show proof where it was originally sourced from? Also, do you know how strict they are in the usage of music? Obviously, I just answered this question, but there's something else that I wanted to touch on. And of course, I'm not an attorney. Make sure you're seeking legal advice when necessary. Brands are generally not going to come after you if you use them in a film. I don't recommend it, but it shouldn't be anything harmful. Now, on the opposite side of that, brands will come after you if you start saying something that's stupid or defamatory or just something that's just simply not true. I had a lawyer for my film. They went and checked all the brands and stuff like that kind of popped up just because it's impossible not to shoot something with some brand in the background or something like that. I don't remember how many brands pop in and out of the film, but I know it was in the hundreds, and they said that everything was fine and it shouldn't be a legal problem. However, if you do have something that requires attribution, make sure you put that attribution in the credits or wherever necessary. Is it worth putting it on Prime since you said the profit is not much there? I get this question a lot from people who reach out to me. Here's my honest take. You need to decide what your goals are when you are making this film before, after, and during. And I say before, after, and during just because things are going to change throughout the course of making this thing. There really isn't any money in low budget filmmaking. Like if you are here to make money on your art project, or if you are trying to take this seriously, it's really difficult. A lot of it comes down to how well you market it, how well the film's made, and quite simply, honestly, luck as well. For me personally, I wanted to grow an audience and have them enjoy the films that I make. That means I needed to get this movie on platforms that people were actually going to watch it on. If money comes with that, cool. I made about, I think, 70% of my budget back. I've made about $9,000 out of the $15,000 that I've spent on making my movie back from the distribution methods that I talk about on this channel. But my main primary goal is just to get people to watch what I'm making. And the same could be said for my YouTube videos if we're being honest. What I've made back so far on my movie is way more than I ever imagined that I'd be able to make. That's a bonus for me at this point. I basically made a $15,000 resume piece. If your goal is to make money with indie films, you need to be making them as cheaply as possible and finding some clever way to market them to get them to the widest audience possible. You could make a feature for $25,000 to $5,000 and make a profit on that. If I would have done that personally, I'd be in the green right now. Obviously, there's a lot of issues on the production side of that as far as like how ethically you're doing things, are people getting paid, so on and so forth, but you could absolutely do it. I'm curious to do it for myself in the future. I want to make something that's less than $5,000 or even just less than $10,000. So again, you definitely need to decide what's important to you, and especially before you get really into the weeds. Could you please make a video on payment options and withdrawal on Amazon Prime? If you're working with Prime Video Direct, they're going to send you money via direct deposit. That's in the US. I have no idea how they do this else in the world. Let's say you are using Amazon through FilmHub. They're going to pay through PayPal. If you're going through a traditional distributor, I don't really know how it works there, but I would assume PayPal or some version of a direct deposit. Unfortunately, I can't really get country specific just because I only know what's going on with the US. You'll set up all this information under your account, so that's going to be your best resource for figuring this out or using Amazon Prime Video Direct's help desk. This last one is a comment somebody made that I just wanted to touch on a little bit just because it bothered me and just didn't really think it was helpful. So let me read it and then I'm going to comment on it. Great information, explained clearly and concisely, but frankly, Amazon Prime returns are pathetic. Nothing against the presenter who does a very good job. I had my own distribution system in the 2000s and it was making $1,500 to $5,000 a month. Time to dust off the old distribution model. This is why I started making videos on YouTube, because comments like this really bother me a lot. When I was researching self-distribution models and just distribution models in general, all the way up to 2018 before I started making my film and all that, nobody was really willing to give any good information on how to do it. Everything was very surface level or very just unhelpful in general. There's a lot of great resources like Alex Ferrari's Indie Film Hustle podcast, but I also found myself having a lot of issues that I wasn't able to find answers to. So my hope with this channel is that I'm able to give you a little more information and some clarity to those that really need it. And I hope in the future people will do the same. I'm trying to interview a lot of filmmakers and learn about how they're distributing and making their films and such, but I'm hoping to see other channels pop up and share their stories on how they did something. But that's all I got for now. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment them down below or feel free to send me an email. My email is currently in my bio, and I'm sure I'll do another follow-up video here sometime in the future on any other questions that you have that I see pop up. And of course, if you want to see how to upload your film onto Amazon Prime Video Direct, I have a video that should pop up right here. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.